or if you're stepping aside of work on your lunch hour or something like that, we appreciate it. It will be recorded. Like I said, Mrs. Munns and I are always available via phone or email too if you have other questions. But giving you a little presentation today, and then it'll just, like Mrs. Munns said, end with a Q&A. So hopefully we can ease any and all nerves as we kind of head into this new school year. So we are recording, so we'll get going. Couple people might continue to pop in. All right, so welcome. If you're a new family, welcome to Sauganash. I see a lot of names, obviously returning families, but I know we have a lot of new families as well. So super excited to have you as part of Sauganash School. I know you will love it. It is a great place to be. I just completed my 10th year here, which flew by. So excited for year 11. Okay, so here is our master schedule. So last year we kind of obviously started full remote. So our schedule was very much geared towards that remote learning. And then once we kind of moved to a hybrid model, we tried to keep the schedule somewhat the same to make it an easy transition. This year we're kind of going back to our normal standard school schedule. So this is kind of small. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to blow it up for you so you can see it. So again, there's a couple reasons, you know, this schedule was kind of created for long-term purposes, but also here and now purposes. So this is what it looks like. A lot of you, if you have kids in certain grades, you'll see it looks the same in terms of when they're having specific things, and then some things we did change around a little bit. So this is our master schedule. So from, let me blow it up a little bit bigger. Okay, so from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock will be the third and fourth grade special. So that is, you know, they've had that now, I want to say 3 or 4 years now. So that's when they'll have their specials from PE, STEM, technology, art. This year we will be having Spanish. So just to give you a little bit of background on the specials, Miss Cerna extended her leave. Her mother is not well, so she extended her leave. So we will not be having music for the foreseeable future. We have replaced it with Spanish for the time being, which we're super excited about. And then our goal is to kind of supplement not having music as a special and kind of offer it in a variety of after school programming and different things throughout the school day as well. So it's definitely going to be back, but just for as we kind of start here on August 30th, Spanish will kind of overtake the music for the time being. So Spanish as a special is going to be awesome. It's going to give the kids a nice introductory, foundation for them. So we're really excited to get that going. Mr. Fernando Lopez went to Northern Illinois and then has been in CPS for the last year and a half. He's going to be our new Spanish teacher. So hopefully you saw that on the newsletter. But that's just a little bit of background. So technology, art, STEM, PE, and Spanish for third and fourth grade. Same thing for first and second and kindergarten. So you can see first and second will have their specials 9 to 10. 10 to 11 will be kindergarten. And then while 10 to 11 happens, you also have 7th and 8th lunch. So 7th and 8th kind of got moved up to have that brunch/lunch from 10 to 11. But they do finish with their special in the afternoon. So we did like having our 7th and 8th graders have special last period. It allowed them to kind of dismiss a little bit easier. When we had our specials having 2nd grade last period, our special teachers weren't always in the know with grandma was picking up their daughter or something like that. So moving the older kids to last period special has been a nice thing for us. K through 2 will have their lunch 11, 10 to 12. 3rd and 4th will be 12 to 1 or 12:05 to 12:55. And then 1 to 1:50 will be 5th, 6th. So 5th, 6th having that late lunch. Again, not ideal to have the late or the early, but just with our enrollment and everything, we've always had 4 lunch periods minus COVID last year. So we're going back to 4 lunch periods. It allows us to, have, everyone where they need to be, albeit some of them are eating early or late. So 5th and 6th grade will have some type of snack in the morning just because the 1 o'clock is somewhat of a later time for lunch. So they'll get a snack probably around 10 a.m. just so you're all aware. That's our master schedule. If you have more questions, it's here. It's just not, super blown up. And then at the bottom, you'll see weekly second step, Ulvaeus, and SEL instruction. So Calm Classroom. So all of those things are evident throughout the week. Second step is our social emotional curriculum. So that will be done on a weekly basis, K to 8. All right. Okay, so the CPS Health Screener has been updated to make it a little bit user-friendly, which will be great. So you guys will still need to do that in the morning. Obviously, it's, another thing to kind of add on parents' plate, which is not ideal, but I think most people got in the routine of, completing it while filling up coffee or something like that. So unfortunately, that is staying, but it is a little bit more streamlined, a little bit more user-friendly, not as, many questions and as daunting. CPS has gotten away from the morning temperature check, the forehead scan, just because based on CDC guidelines and other, Chicago Department of Public Health, they're kind of mirroring their guidance with that. So we will not be doing the temperature check as they enter. We will still have the thermometers on an as-needed basis to use. So mask wearing, we will have 600 plus kids, 58 staff members. So obviously masks aren't going to be a thing. I don't know if you saw Governor Pritzker in the state of Illinois made that a mandate statewide. And Mrs. Munns and I always continue to talk about how much the kids deserve a ton of credit. I mean, we had, 480 kids in hybrid last year. I never got one kid complaining about it. I never got Mrs. Wang, I'm going to get to the outdoor recess thing in a second. So the kids deserve a massive amount of credit for wearing masks, not complaining, and, I'm really proud of how they handled it last year and do not see that being an issue this year. We have a little bit of leeway with outdoor not having to wear them and so on. So I'll get to that in a second. Mr. Carlos and Mr. Angel, along with Maria and Rosa, who are custodians, they just completed their training. Much of the same. So there's not, if you were in hybrid, it is very much similar in terms of school protocols, stuff like that. Obviously there's a little bit of things that have changed and maybe, I don't want to say loosened, but have given us a little bit more leeway when it comes to some of the protocols. There's no more stickers on the ground. They may be ordering new stickers. The 6 foot rule is moved to 3 feet whenever possible. So hopefully you've been seeing that and reading that within the CPS communication. But you'll see kind of here as we go through this small slideshow and then questions, you'll see a lot of the stuff is somewhat similar because we found it to be effective and, we think consistency is key. So staying with a lot of those things, I think will help us kind of carry the momentum that we had last year. So arrival process will be the same. So you have 3rd and 7th grade going in door 1, which is the main entrance. You have 8th grade going in door 7, which is behind the building, kind of by the dumpster area. So it's kind of like a secluded door. 8th grade entered and exit there. It worked out really well. 2nd grade will still be door number 8, which is the parking lot door. Kindergarten will be its own door at door 10, which is just south of the gym doors. And then door 11, which is like in the corner of the front on Kilpatrick, will be 1st and 5th grade. And then door 12 will be 4th and 6th, which is over by the playground. So one thing we implemented last year, which worked really well, was this soft opening, we called it, or a rolling opening. So, normally we wouldn't open the doors in years past till 8 a.m. The kids would wait outside. We started opening them at 7:50 last year. That kind of allowed us to alleviate any lines, anything like that. So we're going to continue with that. We really liked how that worked. So if your student gets dropped off anytime between 7:50 to 8 o'clock, they can come in their assigned door, grab and go breakfast, and then they go kind of wait in front of their locker area. We will be using lockers this year. And then they'll enter the room, and then they can kind of do breakfast while the teachers take attendance. So that is our plan, and it worked out really well. In terms of exits, we are going to exit everyone out their same door. So that's going to be, same as we did last year in hybrid. Kindergarten, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. We will be dismissing 5 minutes early. So again, that's a couple reasons for that. The reason we dismiss them early is we know we have 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders that have younger siblings. So they can then, get to their younger siblings' door if they need to go get them before they walk to mom or dad's car. And then also it just alleviates some of the crowding. So the reason we chose kindergarten, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, then they're the only ones going out their door. So first grade, when they're going out the door, they're not kind of intermixing with the fifth graders. So fifth grade should already be out by the time first grade is being dismissed at 3 o'clock. And then kindergarten, those are our little babies at the school. So we want to make sure they get to you guys at 2:55, secured, and everything like that. So that's kind of the arrival and a little bit of the dismissal process. So here, this slide should hopefully look familiar to you. It just gives you a little bit of a visual in terms of where the students are entering. Now, as we know, we have construction looming. It sounds like groundbreaking will be around Halloween. So there may be a couple of adjustments needed end of October, early November in terms of what this will look like. But from Mrs. Munns and I's pre-construction meetings, it looks like there will be a fence kind of going right through where this big tree is, so that kindergarten walkway will still be accessible. And then we're under the impression that this door will also be accessible as well. So hopefully the entrances will not change. The only thing that will probably change will be one of the kiss and go drop-offs, and I'm going to get to that in a second. So again, use this as a reference to where you have to drop your kids off. Now, one of the things that was brought up last year was if I have a kid in fifth grade and second grade, can I drop them off at the same entrance? Yes, you can. That will not be a problem at all. And the teachers who are greeting at the door, I shouldn't say teachers, the staff members who are greeting at the door will be well aware of that. So they'll do the soft rolling opening. They would walk to so if there's a fifth grader, they would walk up to Mr. Chuchi or Mrs. BC's room, while the second grader would walk up to their room. So not a huge issue if you have kids in multiple grades, and we don't want to make it hard for you where you're dropping off 360 degrees around the building. Door here's just a front facing one. So you have door 1, 3rd and 7th grade at the main entrance, door 12 for 4th and 6th by the playground. And then there's that door 7, that 8th grade door that's kind of hidden back there. And then the front of the building. So again, it's our understanding that the fence for here will probably go somewhere on this grass right here, blocking maybe Mrs. Yadao's corner window right here. But it doesn't look like anything should be impacted, hopefully, in terms of arrival. What will be impacted is this green check mark X. So the green is what we called our second grade kind of kiss and go location. The red one is our kindergarten, first and second grade, or first and fifth grade, drop off. We don't have a staff member at this drop off over here, and we don't have a staff member at this drop off over here. If we get more staff members, we plan on putting them there. But for right now, this should really be 3rd, 7th, and 8th graders getting out here. So hopefully they're old enough where they're not needing assistance. And then over here by the playground, it should be 4th, 5th, or 6th graders. So hopefully they're not needing assistance either. So we didn't have anyone there last year. It worked out okay. Obviously, we know the scale is going to get bigger with more kids, but hopefully that will continue to be, suffice with just having these 2 spots with staff members. So the green X is right here on Hiawatha. It's right past the parking lot entrance. Mr. Issue will be there to open the door. Second graders can walk right up here and then go into their back entrance right here. And then right here, kindergarten, first grade, fifth grade doors here too. They can drop off right there. This has to be stressed over and over because last year in hybrid, we had a lot of parents, kindergarten parents especially, and we're doing a kindergarten and first grade meet and greet on Friday. So I will stress this over and over. If you are using the drop-off, it is for drop-off only. We cannot have parents leaving their car. It literally backs up, even though they think it's only taking them 10 seconds to, run around, grab their kid's backpack, and then get them out. And I get it. Kindergarten, first graders, maybe the kids aren't ready for the drop-off yet. Maybe it'll take them a month. So if your plan is to walk your kid to the door, you need to park over here on Kilpatrick, north of Hiawatha, or over here on Hiawatha, east of Kilpatrick, over here. You need to park off this campus block because it moved pretty smoothly in hybrid, but we were only having 260 kids a day. We're going up to 600 kids a day. So it is vital for us to really get in the habit of, hey, if I'm using drop off and my kid's comfortable jumping out with a staff member, then use it. And then, the staff member will grab their backpack and they just hop out. You guys all have to go to work. So the whole purpose of this is kind of for everyone's benefit. And we know it works well because we've seen it work well. So hopefully that maintains the thing. I will reiterate that to everyone, but I think the more we can work together on that, the better. And then obviously we put a horse over here. So Kilpatrick is a one-way in the morning. So about 7:45, this becomes a one-way going south, and then Keating and Lamont become a one-way going north. So it's literally a one-way traffic pattern from 7:45 till about 8:03. So just keep that in mind. And like I said, if your kid is not ready for the drop-off, we totally get it. We just ask that you park somewhere off the campus block and then walk them. All right, dismissal. Dismissal is like the ever impossible thing to kind of do because people get here at all hours. So some parents will get here at 2:15, read a book in the car, and they're parking kind of wherever. So it's almost impossible for us to kind of manage. So we just ask that everyone be respectful of each other and just follow the traffic, laws that the city has put in place. So, there's certain things that are signed out there. I mean, we know one of them says no parking from 7 to 3:30. If you're in your car waiting for your kid, we get that people are going to park there. If you could just be, cognizant of everyone kind of trying to get out of there in a timely manner. So there's really nothing we've done in the past. We know it's somewhat chaotic, but we just, we want to make it as stress-free as possible. It's just really hard to manage unless we were to get out there and start setting stuff up at, 2 o'clock because people just get there at all different times. We do feel like the staggered exit times have made a difference. So hopefully that will continue to be productive as well. And they exit out the same doors they entered. So that will be staying the same. All right, CPS Food. Food services list their menu on the website. So look at that. There is no, I want to get school lunch. In the old days, you would have to, check the days you want school lunch. Every kid has access to school lunch every day, all 600, every CPS student. So there's no, I need to tell my teacher that I'm getting school lunch on pizza day only. Basically what Yvette does, she's our lunchroom manager, and Francisco's our porter. What they do is they basically look at trends. So they know pizza day, they're making 480, whereas chicken patty day, they're probably only making 230 or whatever. So they kind of look to see when kids and what kids are getting and what is popular specific days. And then they kind of just make the amount of food on those specific days. So it's not something that they have to sign up for. Breakfast is the same thing. Breakfast, there's a cold option and a hot option. Usually the hot option is like French toast sticks and a string cheese. The cold option might be a granola bar and an apple. So they can grab that and go. And again, it's worked out really well. Yvette and her team do an awesome job. So we've had zero issues here. In years past, we've always been a peanut sensitive school, which means we didn't prohibit peanuts. We just had different safe zones for students with allergies. So we have since moved to a peanut-free school. It's just too hard to manage with everybody eating in different locations, and just the liability of, some kids eating in the room, some kids eating in the caf, making sure everything's wiped down. The good thing is if they're eating in the room, they're eating at their specific spot, so there's no other kid using that spot. So, but you'll see a slide later on that shows we are kind of moving towards a peanut-free school. So if they want something, a peanut butter and jelly, or, something that is their favorite snack, it's probably best to just be done at home. All right, here's what our lunch is going to look like for this year. So I did not put a picture of the cafeteria. I will put that in the slideshow before we share it in the newsletter. But we are moving back to 4 lunches. So last year we only had 3 lunch periods because we were remote. Most of the time we only had 1 lunch period. So last year, if you remember, every kid in the whole school ate 11 to 12, and that worked out really well. Well, then when we came back, obviously we couldn't have every kid eat 11 to 12, so we had to make some adjustments with the schedule. Because we're going back to our standard schedule, we will have 4 lunch periods. So you saw that in our master schedule. This is kind of what it will look like. So 7th and 8th grade eating at that brunch 10 to 10 to 11. And they may get a snack in the afternoon too. I mentioned that about the 5th, 6th grade getting a snack in the morning. I know the 7th and 8th grade teachers are always willing to do a snack in the afternoon for those guys if it's something that is a need before maybe they go to PE or whatever. Long story short, we are going to use a rotating model for students eating in the cafeteria, the Zielinski cafeteria, and the classrooms. So initially, first quarter, the plan is to have 7th grade eat in their classrooms, 8th grade will eat in the cafeteria. Then at the quarter, so starting second quarter, we'll flip it. That's the best way for us to do it. That's the safest way for us to do it. And we know it will be effective. And, we kind of did this last year. We had 5th grade eating in their homeroom, 6th grade eating in the caf, and they would all go out to recess at staggering times. So we're confident in our plan, and we think, this kind of gives us the best option for everything. Safety, the kids' needs in terms of what they need to eat, how much time they have to eat, and everything. So, again, not ideal. We would love to have every kid eat in the cafeteria, and they will. It just won't all be it won't all be at the beginning of the year. It'll be on a rotating quarterly basis. So if you have questions on that, we can get to those in a second. We will still be having recess in our pods. So the reason being, here's CPS's guidance. If your students go out to recess not in pods, they have to wear masks. We feel that the kids, like I said, do a wonderful and a masterful job wearing the mask. We feel they deserve the mask break during the 30 minutes of recess. So they will be staying in their pods. So let's say, for example, Miss Trapp's class has 27 kids in it. Those 27 kids will play in let's say this B area. They will be unmasked because they will be kind of intermixing and playing with their own pod. So that's kind of what that looks like. But we feel, Mrs. Munns and I, that it's important for them to be allowed to remove their masks at recess, which is why they will stay in their pod area or in their pod grouping. So we're happy with that decision. We think, we're glad CPS made that a decision because last year the kids did wear masks. And again, I can't stress the amount of respect I have for all the kids kind of just being rock stars when it came to that. So really, really happy that we're able to kind of let them, loose a little bit without their mask during PE outside or during resets outside. So that's kind of a nice thing that we have different from last year. Okay, COVID reporting and contact tracing, these next 2 slides are dedicated towards that. So again, it's very similar to last year. You have your CPS reporting tool. So this kind of gives you a PDF in terms of what this looks like. So this is all done through the district. Mrs. Munns and I do not have kind of say-so or autonomy over there. This is the same whether you're at Sauganash, Edgebrook, Decatur, Wildwood, whatever school you're at, this is the protocol. So it is a self-reporting tool. So this is something that would be reported if a student has COVID. So this is not, hey, grandma has it and grandma was over last week, so I'm going to report it because my son Billy was with grandma. Okay, this is for positive reports only, and then that's when it starts the process. So this is old. This is from last year, but I thought it was important for you to kind of see the step 1, step 2, step 3. And then it's the same thing for employees. So employees, it's the same thing. If they get a positive test via outside of school or via the testing at school, the protocol remains the same. So this slide is the same from last year. Hopefully you saw the CPS communication from Dr. Torres that basically explained CPS employees are mandated to be vaccinated. If they're not, they have, there's a couple of exemptions based on religious or health reasons or something like that. But basically they have till October 15th. So that is all done through HR. That's not Mrs. Munns and me. That is done through downtown. That is done through HR. And then the testing will be in room 205 like we did last year for both students and staff. So again, if you're student, that's on an opt-in basis. You would have to opt your student in. So there's more guidance to come on that. We don't have all the guidance in terms of what that looks like, but what it looked like last year is, let's say we had 43 kids at Sauganash that were 10 years of age or older that opted in. They would not get tested every week. They would get tested twice a month. So about half of them would get tested each time that the people came. So there's no way they're going to test everyone every week. If you opt in, it will be probably something where they're tested once a month or twice a month. Guidance is being forthcoming. So, again, that was something CPS put in last year, and it worked well. I mean, it was super efficient. But that is not all students. Like, it was kind of worded like you would still have to opt in as a parent. You know, you have your rights as a parent for that, for your kids. So that is being worked out. I think it's also being negotiated with the union right now. So we don't have all the guidance on what that will look like in terms of logistics, you know, from a week to a biweekly thing. But it is going to be something that will be done weekly at our school. So we will update you as soon as we get more.
Employees and students.
So the face coverings, every student will be given 3 face coverings via CPS the first day or week of school. If your student does not want to wear those and you have your own that you bought your kid or made your kid or whatever, that is totally acceptable as long as they're worn the right way. And then Miss Maria, as she did last year, she put together little boxes or baskets of PPE. So every room has extra disposable masks in case a kid's mask gets, you know, a kid's mask get ruined at recess or something like that. We have extras: Clorox wipes, paper towels, Kleenex, gloves, hand sanitizer, gowns. So the amount of PPE we have is abundant, and you know, we'll use it as needed and as much as we have to. The reason the health screener is so important is because it brings into play the quarantining rules and the contact tracing. So please make sure you're doing a health screener each morning. It has been updated in mainstream. So like I said, it will be easier for you to use. And again, the quarantine rules are also being negotiated right now with CTU. So we don't have all the guidance in terms of what that's going to look like, but we know it's going to look similar to last year, we would think. So, air purifiers, here's a picture. Every room has the Intella air purifier. Those have been put in each room in every space. So that remains the same. Here's a picture from last year, but again, I didn't change the picture, but basically at every box we have, you know, the different wipes and all that stuff. These were put on the walls everywhere throughout the building. They're like it's like a Mr. hand sanitizer. Sanitizing machine, the care room where the kids would go if they're having somewhat sick, like COVID symptoms. So if a kid has a nosebleed or a hurt their elbow at recess, they're not going to the care room. The care room is dedicated for those with, you know, symptoms relative to COVID. So Ms. Vicky still handled all that stuff in the main office last year, non-COVID related symptoms. Solomon Cannon, he was our care room attendant last year. We're hoping to get him back. You know, he was in here. He did all his training, so he handled this. And then the pickup for if you have to pick up a kid from the care room would be door 10, which is the kindergarten door. So worked super efficient last year. We're confident in the plan going forward, that it looks the same. And hopefully we can get him back because he's kind of very familiar with our protocols and how we did everything. Here's a couple of the Q&A questions that were submitted last year that I left in here. Will Right at School be back? Yes, we have repartnered with them. Alex Rodriguez is their new area manager, so I'm working with him to make sure we're on the same page in terms of the new protocols and what that will look like in terms of potting and everything else. But they will be back. Chess Academy is going to be back on Wednesdays. And then Test Prep Chicago will be back. Those are 3. Yes, windows will be open all year. That protocol has not changed. But these are the 3 tuition-based programs. So they will all be on site here from 3 to 4. Right at School has a 3 to 6 option or a 3 to 4:30 option. We will also have our own in-house after-school programming. We will be putting together those programs. Teachers usually teach them. It'll be a math enrichment or a reading enrichment or reading support, or I know Ms. Trapp did an art class last year. Other teachers have done like an exercise or fitness class. Other teachers have done a yoga class. So those are something we have to work with our teachers over the first couple weeks to kind of get going, and then those will run every quarter. And those are free to you. So the grant money goes to pay the teachers or staff to pay extra or to stay after. So those are all free to parents. We showed you the pictures of the slide, the care room. Oh, and then this just says same thing. Non-illness incidents, nosebleed. If they need an ice pack, they go to the main office. So care room's only used for illness. Again, peanut free. So this will help us whether they're eating lunch or snack in their room. It just helps us be a little bit more consistent across the board. And then, it's a shorter presentation. We didn't want to keep you guys super long. We figured you'd have a lot of questions. So now it's kind of the Q&A, and then we're happy to answer. I know we've been putting some in the chat that I think Mrs. Munns have gotten to. What happens after school with potting? So that guidance is still forthcoming, but based on the athletics and the sports guidance, it looks like there will be what they're calling like a separate pod. So let's say your child is in their second grade pod with Miss Trapp. They would also be in a different pod with Right at School. So it's an easy way for them to help with contact tracing and help with mitigation, but it's a forthcoming thing that I think is also being in the final stages of negotiation. So this year we're not doing a supply drop off for 2 through 8, but we will have supply drop off for the regular supplies on kindergarten and first grade meet and greet on Friday. So for 2nd through 8th grade, if they have school supplies, they can bring those throughout the first week. Okay, so we're not doing a specific drop off just because we didn't want to have everyone kind of bring everything the first day. Teachers will still be assigning lockers and so on. So first and kindergarten during their meet and greet, they can absolutely bring their markers and folders and all that fun stuff, and they'll put it in their classrooms or lockers on Friday. What happens if there's a positive case in a classroom? Again, that's in the final stages of negotiation because I think the CTU is still wondering what that's going to look like in terms of remote teaching. I can't answer that in full because we just don't have that. I think it's one of the last shoes to drop, but we know there's, there were, I want to say 3 cases at Sauganash last year. And what they did is they flipped the pod. So that pod went remote for 14 days and then we went from there. So I'm assuming it's going to be similar. I was proud in the job we did and how we handled it. And everything that we had last year was isolated. That's what I'm assuming it's going to be similar to this year. Lockers will be shared. So in the mornings, we don't have enough lockers for everyone. There may be, in a class of 27, there may be a handful of kids that get their own locker, but the majority of them will have a buddy. And then what we'll do is every kid will just take different turns to lockers. So they'll report in their rooms. And then I'm using Miss Trapp, for example, because I'm looking at her thing over here because I was just working on their class. But so if she has 28 kids, they'd come into their rooms, they'd go to their seats, and then she would, dismiss some of them to go back to their lockers, put their stuff away. So the locker buddies really should be at the same locker at a given time. And feel free to unmute. I mean, we'd love to hear your voices too. It doesn't have to be all via chat. If you have a question, you can just kind of unmute and just go from there. How do you let after-school programs know what time you are coming? So all of them will end at 4 p.m. Chess Academy, take that back. Test Prep Chicago, I think, goes till 5 o'clock. It's a 2-hour class. But
this was my question, and I did the Right at School program that goes till 6, but likely depending on the day, I'd want to get my daughter between like 4:30 or 5:30 or something. So I didn't know how that worked.
Yeah, so great question. So there's a corner door. It's door number 3. It's right inside the main gate. So if you pull up on, let me get to here. If you pull up on Keating right here, here's our main entrance, this door right here. there's a door right where this G is in Keating, door number 3. That's the Right at School door. So you would go there and you just go in and they'll have staff members, and everyone at Right at School will be somewhat close in proximity. So the kids will either be doing their homework or playing games in the caf. Some of them might be in, one of the classrooms close by, Miss Calvert's classroom or Miss Owen's classroom, or they may be in the gym, doing some type of activity, or they'll be out on the turf field. So it may take them a minute or two to round up your kid, and then you sign them out. But yeah, if you sign up till 6, but you get there at 4:45, that's no problem.
Okay. And then I would assume that once the after school programs that you'll be emailing about in the first week or whatever, or first couple weeks come out, the kids can do that too, and someone will then get them to the Right at School program?
So in years past, if they sign up for, let's say, in our class after school, they would go to that from 3 to 4:30, and then the teachers dismiss them. So the teachers would dismiss them out of the main entrance, and they would know, all right, Billy, Michael, and Chloe go to Right at School. They would drop them in the caf, and then they would check in with the Right at School team.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, great questions.
So I'm assuming, Mr. Kennedy, once the students are Right at School and they're outside, they do not have to wear their masks because they remain in their pod for
Yeah.
Right at
Well,
School.
the way CPS has the guidance is it says as long as you can maintain 3 feet, even if you're not in a pod, they can have their mask outside. So, it's different for adults. So basically, if we were to have, let's say, for example, we're doing our kindergarten meet and greet on Friday with parents. If we separate the parents, on the turf field, they don't have to wear a mask as long as they're within 3 feet apart from someone else. When it gets to kids, yeah, if they're in some type of pod or some type of orchestrated grouping, then they can remove their masks. Yeah, sure. So I only can speak on the weekly testing based on how we did it last year. It was super, super efficient. They would come on Tuesdays for students and Thursdays for staff. So the staff, I was kind of the liaison for the testing, me or Miss Maria. So we had go get the kids, and then they would do the nose swab for the students in front of us. So there had to be a staff member present. So I would go grab 3 kids at a time, stay with the 3 kids while they got their swab, then they would go back to class. It literally took probably 45 seconds. And that was pretty much it. So if you want to opt your student in for testing, that will be something you can do on Aspen or via this form. And we'll send that out. I don't know that I have it because I don't know if it's the same form from last year. But it will be something that you opt in. So again, my guess would be, because it sounds like the surveillance testing program last year was for 10 and older. This year, it sounds like it's going to be K-8 or K-12. So if you have any first grader that wanted to opt in, we have 623 students, 621. We may have 400 that opt in. There's no way that they're going to test 400 a week. So again, my guess is they would come on Tuesday, Thursday, and test, 80 kids those 2 days. Then the next day they're testing 80. So it'll be kind of like a rotating, your kid would be on like a rotating schedule. So again, I don't know if it would be once a month or twice a month. I think that, again, that's still being worked out. Yeah, Ms. Schuneman, you are correct. So students that are unvaccinated, because sports is 5th through 8th grade, many of those students are eligible for vaccine. So any student that is unvaccinated will have to go through weekly testing, and then I believe the vaccinated students will be on periodic testing if they opt in or something like that. So Mr. Z, our athletic director and PE teacher, and Mr. Lopez, our other one, they went to 2 meetings this past week with CPS Sports Administration to kind of go through all of the ins and outs of what that looks like. So that is something that they will be putting together for you guys so that you have all the information in terms of sports. Sports will run pretty much 3 to 4 after school, sometimes 4 to 5, depending on how many teams. And then the way they're doing the CPS score this year is for 5th through 8th grade is they're having what they call CPS score plus team, which will compete against other schools at Mather High School on Saturdays. And then they have the regular CPS score, which will be kind of an intramural. So let's say we have 32 5th and 6th grade girls that sign up for volleyball in the fall. There will only be a team of like 12 or 14 that will compete against other schools on Saturdays. The remaining 22 girls would be competing against each other on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays after school, something like that. So it's kind of like a two-tiered program. We did partner with Kara Donaldson over at Sauganash Park, so we will be using our own gym up until it gets wrecking balled, and then we will partner with Sauganash Park for the remaining sports. So basketball in the winter, we will be using Sauganash Park in some capacity. We kind of have to work around their schedule, but field trips sounds like will be a thing. Hopefully, we love our field trips here at Sauganash, but I don't think they're going to be doing any in the first month, it sounds like. So it sounds like maybe that guidance is kind of being worked out. But I'm confident we'll have field trips at some point this year. No, lunches are not refrigerated. So most people bring like one of those insulated lunch bins, and they just have a bin. So it's just like a big Rubbermaid that they would throw in their classroom in the morning. Some teachers just have them leave it in their lockers. But yeah, we've never really had an issue with that up to this point. So yeah, that's just kind of how we've ran the lunches so far. Yeah, so mental health, social emotional learning. So we're really excited. So there's 34 schools in Network 1. We opted in along with, I think, 31 others for this program called Branching Minds. So it is a research-based, kind of like an MTSS tiered support program. So Mrs. Munns, myself, and a bunch of teachers have our training on Thursday, and then we'll do a school-wide training shortly thereafter with the entire staff. So that is a program we will use. It is a academic tiered support and social emotional tiered support. So like I said, it's research based. So it gives us a lot of concrete curriculum, concrete strategies, concrete interventions to use to help kids, with whatever, whether it be they're struggling in reading or math, whether it be they're struggling with anxiety, they're struggling with identity, whatever the case may be. So all of those things will, it just gives us a unified platform to use K-8 so that all of our teachers are on the same page when it comes to that. And then we obviously have our other SEL things as well. So Second Step is what we've used for quite some time now. Second Step is a K-8 social emotional curriculum. So we will continue to use that. We did an Olveus anti-bullying training a couple years back. We still use different supports from there. And like I said, all this stuff is something that our teachers have gotten multiple trainings on. And we actually have a Second Step training upcoming this week, Thursday as well. So we know SEL is going to be a need everywhere along all schools of the United States, just because, the last year and a half that these kids have gone through. So that will be, top of mind for us and at the forefront of kind of everything we do. So whether we're in reading or we're in science or we're in PE or we're in art, all that stuff will also be incorporated as well. So we know, we're going to have kids at multiple different spectrums when it comes to comfortability coming back, some of them hesitant. So we know that. And, we've done a lot of that in the past. The scale may just change. So we may have had a couple kids, struggling with different things in the past. That scale might just get a little bigger and it might be a couple more kids, but we're confident in the things we have in place and we will get the kids what they need.
Another thing, Mr. Kennedy, I'm just going to jump in. We also have Mrs. Algretti, who's our counselor and happy to work with any students. Key factor here is definitely to make sure communicating with the school, if your child is struggling with something, let us know, let your teachers know, so that we can support and in any way that we need to. Yeah,
a lot of it will be proactive. Like I said, Second Step is a thing we do weekly, multiple days, probably 3 30-minute sessions a week, 3 20-minute sessions a week, 1 60-minute session a week. Depends, some of the teachers like doing it in bunches, some of the teachers, but yeah, that's all stuff that is proactive. We don't wait for stuff to happen. We try to get in front of it and, do what's best we can to serve our kids' needs. So, again, we understand that that's going to be a need this year and we're ready for it. Will students be asked to use Clorox wipes? Oh, yes. Yeah. So tons of PPE. Yeah, sanitizing schedule is in place. All of the bathrooms have like a sanitizing schedule outside. So Mr. Carlos, Mr. Angel, Rosa, Maria, all of those what they call high traffic areas are sanitized and cleansed, multiple times throughout the day. And then, the kids at any point can go grab, they got these bucket of wipes. So obviously you guys all donated Clorox wipes, paper towels, Kleenex, which we greatly appreciate, but CPS is, they're also giving us stuff like this. So this is a 500 wipes in here. Every room has one of these. And then if they run out, Mr. Carlos Angel get them another one. So wipes are there. Every room has a hand sanitizer there. Plus we got the bottles that you guys supplied. So there is not a shortage of that stuff. It's just, and then the teachers do a good job of, taking breaks. All right, let's close our books in the last 5 minutes. We're going to wipe down, blah, blah, or whatever the case may be. So students will not be switching classes in K-4. They will be, the teachers will be switching. So 5th through 8th, the kids will be switching rooms just because we found last year in hybrid that the kids were sitting a lot. So it's not a far walk, but Miss Trainer's class to Mr. Lundek's class to Miss Murphy's class to Miss French's class, albeit is only 30 feet away, I think it gives the kids a nice, fresh change of mind. And then they'll grab a wipe as they come in, wipe down their space, and go from there. So it's something that we'll be doing, in the junior high. And then K-4, the teachers will be switching. So if they have fourth grade has Mrs. McKenna for math, she'll be going into room 113. Then when she has room 119, Mr. Tater's class for math, she'll go into there. So K-4, again, we'll give them movement breaks. We'll let them stand up and stretch. We know that's important, but that's kind of the plan that we have for this year. 5th through 8th, we'll be switching the 4 classes. Because the other thing is with us being in this crowded space and not having an art room, not using our STEM room, the gym is only going to be used till October. A lot of these specials are also pushing in. So, to have Miss Askovich push in for STEM, obviously not ideal. We'd love them to go to the STEM lab, but, she can easily push in, no problem. But again, that's another kind of time when the kids are still in that same classroom. So, giving them those movement breaks, we will make sure that is, we did it last year in hybrid. It worked well. And, we'll continue to make it a priority.
So I'm just going to go back to the Clorox wipes and washing down. It is age appropriate. So the younger students, there's a lot of teachers and or aides, support staff in the classroom that will help with washing the desk. And that's sort of why we're not having the K-4 students move around so that they will be utilizing their own desk. The upper grade students would be using it. Another thing, just like what our mothers and grandmothers taught us to wash our hands before we eat, all students will definitely be going to the bathroom, washing their hands before they eat so that there's not contact with harsh chemicals before eating. And then there is a question about the vaccination cards and or how we're notifying CPS if students are vaccinated. I haven't seen anything on that, Mr. Kennedy.
Yeah, so that there's a spot, so we have like this massive 185-page principal guidance document, and in there it says that that's forthcoming, Ms. Skalski. So there will be a time when parents can submit, yes, my child's vaccinated. Here are the dates they were vaccinated. So staff did that. We submitted all of our dates via like a Google form. We had to put in the 2 dates. We had our first dose and second dose last year. So I believe they're planning the same thing for students as well. Ms. Racoma, yes, they will be switching in their same pod. So if your child's 5th grade with Miss Beastie or 5th grade Mr. Chuchi, they'll be switching as a group. So they're not coming out of that pod. That was kind of the whole reasons of kind of orchestrating the homerooms like we did. And again, they're not moving very far. The 5th grade to 6th grade rooms is, a little left into the new building from the old building. And the 7th and 8th is literally next door to next door to next door. We just feel like, we walked in and some of the kids are sitting there long and their body language is, we want them to be in the best mental framework, to learn. So even that, 3 minutes of moving next door to a new class will help. And when they get to that class, they're going to still have an assigned seat. So we have seating charts, which will help with contact tracing and close contacts and stuff like that. So even if they're in Mr. Tucci's class, they switch to Miss Beasley's class. When they go to Miss Beasley's class, they're still going to be in the same seat every day. So, although we were only in hybrid, which was a smaller sample size, we did all this last year. And like I said, we were pretty happy with the effectiveness of how stuff worked operationally. So, the scale's bigger, but we're ready to roll. Oh, great question, Ms. Wang. So CPS had a 10-year partnership with NWA. They did not renew that partnership. So many of us at Sauganash were somewhat unhappy because we liked NWA. I personally really liked it. I know, testing is, everyone feels testing is too much or whatever, but I did think it gave us, immediate data. Unlike IAR, when you do the IAR, you don't get those results back for like 3 months. I did like it, but the only standardized testing will be from the state. So the state of Illinois will do the IAR, which used to be the Park for a year, and before that it was I don't remember.
Now
I was a kid.
I'm showing my age.
So we did partner, CPS did partner with this new program called Star 360. So it's more of a progress monitoring assessment. So it basically it does give immediate feedback to the teachers, which is great. So that will be something probably early October your kid will take. It won't be more than 35 to 45 minutes of a snapshot in both math and reading. And then it gives the teachers nice data points in terms of where they're at. So it's similar to an NWA. It just won't be used. NWA was used across the board in CPS to give, for teacher ratings, for school ratings. Like CPS is coming up with a new formula in terms of how they're going to rate schools and what they're going to do in terms of, teacher feedback and all of that. So the Star 360 is more, I don't want to say it's less stakes, but it's more, it's designed to give the teachers and students feedback on their progress. It's more of a progress monitoring tool than anything. And then, the teachers will give the kids the IXL math diagnostic at the beginning of the year. So that will give them a nice baseline in terms of, what different areas of math the kid, is higher in or needs support in. So we have plenty of assessment if we need it.
Any other questions that we can answer? You're welcome to come off mute or type it in the chat.
Yeah, we'll stay on for another 3 minutes unless there's and put us right at an hour, and then we'll post this video by tonight for anyone that was unable to attend. And I will add a picture to the cafeteria. So just to give you a little bit of background, let's go back to that. So we are using cafeteria tables. So what we did is, let me find it.
The seating chart.
Let's see if I have. Let me pull up this. Hopefully, any 6th or 8th grade parents on here. We added a lot of options for uniform. They can wear a white polo. They can wear a navy polo. They can wear khaki pants, navy pants, blue pants, black pants. We want to make the uniform process as easy as possible. So we did add a lot of options. Well, whatever. I'll post a picture of it. But basically for lunch, when you have the 8th graders eating in the cafeteria, they will use the cafeteria table. So unlike last year where we used like those science tables and all the kids were facing the same direction, the kids will be allowed to face the direction of one another, but they'll be, anywhere from 5 to 7 feet away from each other based on where we put the stickers. So we have stickers that say, please sit here, and we staggered them along. We numbered the tables so that all the tables go in the same direction. So it's a very calculated process to make sure that the kids are spaced out, but also able to interact with their peers. So depending on when your kid does use the cafeteria, that's what it will look like. Yeah. So in terms of students, yes, we're students falling behind for remote learning. Much like Ms. Racoma asked with, social emotional support. that STAR 360 assessment, that IXL diagnostic, that's going to give us a lot of, baseline, like what we like to call it. It'll give us a data point in terms of where our kids are. So if we find right off the get-go in, early September, mid-September, late September, that student A needs, support with reading fluency or reading comprehension or math facts or number sense, we use those data points, and then we help them get support. So not only does the teacher give them support in small groups in the class, we also use our MTSS, which is it's an acronym that stands for multi-tiered system of support. So it's basically a tiered intervention system. So you would get a notice saying, hey, your student A is going to be in our MTSS tier 2 for math, which means they're going to get pulled out of class 20 minutes twice a week to work on specific deficit areas for them. So what they do is basically they work on specific interventions. An intervention would be like a specific strategies or support for that specific skill. So rather than saying, hey, you're going to come work with me for 20 minutes, they're literally going to work for 20 minutes on only number sense. So it'd be Miss Paula in math. She would work with student A, student B, and student C. So it's never more than 3 kids, maybe 4. And what they would do is work on number sense for 20 minutes twice a week for probably 4 to 6 weeks. And then Miss Paula is gathering that data to see, are they progressing? And then based on if they're progressing, we switch up the intervention to something different, or we change the intervention to make sure they're getting what they need. So that's what that kind of program looks like. And then, we will have an aide in every kindergarten classroom. We'll have a shared aide in first grade, we believe, and a shared aide in second grade. 5th and 6th grade, we'll have an aide and a half. One of them's part-time. One of them will be full-time. So, and then 3rd and 4th will get support as well. And then obviously we have our special ed teachers who are always co-teaching and supporting as well. So there's not going to be a limited number of support. We just have to make sure we're giving that support correctly and making sure it means something for your specific child. So we're not just blatantly working with them in small groups. It's very calculated, and like I said, they're getting that support in areas that they need. And then the last thing I'll say about that, I know there's been different questions about groupings or 3rd and 4th grade being departmental. We know 2nd graders going into 3rd grade, it's a big jump to be departmental, but Mrs. Munns has been here 22 years as principal.
22.
And we've been doing it this way for a while, and we feel that it works really well. Like, if you go to a school down the street or you go to a different school, they're not always departmental that young. A lot of times they don't start departmental until 7th, 8th. We did it 7th, 8th, then we did it 5th, 6th, then we do it 3rd, 4th, and we even do variations of it in 1st and 2nd. But the reason 3rd and 4th do what we do is because, and all the grades, 3rd through 8th, but if you go to a different school, Mr. Tater would be teaching reading, math, social studies, science. And he's a fantastic teacher, but you know what? He's one heck of a science teacher. So for him to be able to focus on science only with those 3rd and 4th graders is only going to benefit your kid, because your kid, Mr. Tater's going to know exactly their strengths and weaknesses when it comes to science. Or Mrs. Calvert's going to know exactly your strengths and weaknesses when it comes to reading, because she's the only teaching reading. She doesn't have to worry about math. She doesn't have to worry about social studies. So, the departmental thing I think is popular or unpopular depending on who you talk to. But we feel that, in my 10 years here, and Mrs. Munns is 22, it gives us the best opportunity to meet your child's needs and to make sure our teachers know their students. So, and then in 1st and 2nd, we also do it for social studies, writing, and science. So 1st grade, Miss Karasik will teach writing. Miss Haig will teach social studies, and Mrs. Gahn, who used to be Miss Gustav, she got married this summer. She will be teaching science. And then same thing with 2nd grade. Miss Foster will do the writing, the Lucy Calkins writing. Miss Murray will do the social studies, and Miss Trapp does the science. So again, it fosters independence. It gets them ready for having multiple teachers. So there's a lot of pros to it. I don't think there's a ton of cons, and we like that, that being one of our philosophies. So hopefully that helps, because I know I had a couple emails about different groupings or different classes or departmental versus non-departmental, so I just wanted to address that. All right, if there's no other questions, like I said, kindergarten and first grade, we will see you on Friday, parents. So I'm sure we can answer more questions on that. We will start it outside. And then, there'll be opportunities to go inside and drop your kids' stuff off. And we'll kind of do that in phases. So we have, a limited number of people in the building. But we're really excited for this year. Like I said, we feel confident with our protocols and everything. So excited to get going. Thank you for being here. Like I said, I know noon on a Monday is not ideal, but we appreciate it. And if you have questions in the meantime, I'm sure we'll answer them via newsletter, via meet and greet, or reach out to us.
Definitely reach out. Thanks for being here. Looking forward to seeing the kids 5 days, every day at school. So we're excited. So I hope you are too. Have a great rest of the week.